Man, gents. So I tell you what. Okay, so we got some interesting things to move to because what we just witnessed is number one go down. And this was kind of a conversation that we had been talking about before leading up to this show. Is that Alabama, is Georgia showing enough to jump them? Alabama's going to keep winning. They're going to be the guy. Well, Alabama's down. Alabama's going down. They just went down. They got a long flight back to Tuscaloosa, which kind of brings us to Georgia. And Georgia again, Clint, you being the SEC guy down here, I mean, what we're seeing from Georgia week in and week out is dominant football on both sides of the ball. We've got Stetson Bennett, who is just operating that offense. They keep calling him a game manager. I don't know why, because the guy is tossing up numbers. He's running in and out of defenses, doing his thing. So you got them just routing Auburn right now. I mean, what's left on that schedule for Georgia for you to say, I mean, this ought to be a hell of a SEC championship game down in December, correct?
Yeah, no question about it. Look, I mean, 34-10 over Auburn today. I'll say this. I think Auburn was probably the most – I mean, you look at their schedule in the past, you had Arkansas and you had Clemson. Really were the two teams in Georgia's past that challenged them, right? Or we thought would challenge them. Arkansas didn't do a damn thing, let's be clear.
Yeah.
But we thought would challenge them, right? And I said this all along, but I definitely said it after the Arkansas game, is the only thing left for Georgia, guys, was for a more balanced attack offensively to test their defense, if you will, right? And see if their defense was actually as legit as it the stats would tell you that it is. I thought Auburn, although they're not the best, most two-dimensional team in the country, I thought what we saw from Bo Nix last week at LSU, winning down in Death Valley, I thought, hey, he throws it better than anybody they've seen. They've got a really good run attack. If they go down there and shut these guys out, then they'll go to a whole nother level. Well, guess what? Georgia shut them down. 34-10 was the game. It was never really a game beyond midway through the first quarter. And look, Bryce, you asked about Georgia's schedule. They got two games left on their schedule that are going to be absolute monsters for them. And I believe this, right? Florida, you already know that's a rivalry game, guys. We've all played in rivalry games. Who knows what the hell that's going to end up looking like? Yep. And Florida is one of the teams in the SEC that has the horses. They may not play well. They may not communicate. They may not have great chemistry. But they got the horses, and they can show up, right? So you got Florida in 2 weeks, but next week, guys, you got the University of Kentucky. I think Mark Stoops they beat up on who they beat up on. They beat up on somebody tonight.
They beat up on LSU tonight.
Yeah, Kentucky. I was thinking that was last week. That's Kentucky. Kentucky beat up on LSU tonight, and so they're rocking and rolling, guys. So yeah, Georgia's got a couple of games left on their schedule that could challenge them. But I think your point is, Bryce, is that Georgia is the undisputed number one where we sit right now. Is that fair to say, Trevor?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The way that defense is playing, the way that they're beating people, that's the only team now, prior to this week, I obviously had Alabama in that as well, but the only team now that I feel confident that they can walk into any stadium in the country and really impose their will on their opponent and walk out of there victorious. Probably the only team right now that I think runs the table. I think they get to the college football playoff unblemished. I know they have some of those trap games in there, and we've got a lot of football left to play. But where we sit and where I sit, that's the only team that I have any level of comfortability saying that about, right?
Yeah. Bryce, here's what's interesting, bro. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Is right now you got Georgia sitting at number one, and I don't give a damn what anybody says. Alabama's vulnerable. I mean, they almost got beat by Florida on the road.
Yep.
They got beat by A&M on the road today. They still got Auburn on the schedule. They still got an SEC championship on the schedule if that is what unfolds in the future. But Alabama's not the old Alabama where, man, they're just running through folks like mess through a goose. And it's just a matter of the SEC game, right? The SEC championship game, right? That ain't the case, man. I mean, Alabama's got some work to do, and I think they're awfully vulnerable moving down the stretch. So my point in saying that, guys, is that I think it's safe to say Georgia's going to be number one. And right now, if we had to put a college football playoff together, that'd be the number one. Hey, them other three spots are wide open, baby. Them other three spots are what Clemson ain't in the mix. I mean, they may be in the mix, but they're definitely not in stone. Alabama's not in stone. So what are we doing? We're sitting here and we're looking at 3 possible college football playoff spots wide open with no favorite at this point in time.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it's super interesting too. So you got 4 out of the top 10 that fell today. So what's really interesting is, one, you're going to have Alabama meet Georgia in the SEC championship. So say they run the rest of the table. And by the way, I mean, what's super interesting about Alabama right now is this was supposed to be a defensive, just stacked team. I mean, this is the second time now on the road, to your point, Clint, that they've given up over 35 points. So they are vulnerable, right? And so now you got what could be a 2-loss Alabama. You got my Cincinnati Bearcats sitting right there at 4 or 5. But now you got Penn State out, and they've got a hell of a schedule. I don't know how long. Oh my gosh, so bad. Clint, quarterback for
starting quarterback for Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. That's there you go, Clifford. So I don't know how long he's going to be. He's going to be out for. I don't know, because I was talking about him. I was talking about him all day today. That's so bad. I was talking about him all day today too. So you got really Georgia, Iowa, I'm assuming, 1-2. Now, does Cincinnati keep going up, or does OU hop them, going to this top 4, which